Hey everyone, this is Devin Hager with Nationwide Joe Homebuyer. I've got an amazing guest. I'm Greg Polyakov. He is in the Tampa market in Florida, and he's been wholesaling for quite how long have you been wholesaling now at this
Well, so
point?
I did Portland for almost like 4 or 5 years, and then in Tampa, I just been a few months here.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah. So I invited Greg on one. He's a fellow Joe Homebuyer franchisee. He's been a franchisee just within the last few months, right? You're pretty fresh. And
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
cool, sorry,
it's been like two months or so, 2.5 months, something like that.
awesome. Yeah, and look, Greg's extremely savvy. He understands the business. You did some flips back in Oregon as well, right? You've dabbled
Yeah,
in some for a
yeah, I
while.
kept a rental, did some flips, did wholesales. I was doing it more part time, so it's just like a few deals here and there. Um, but here right now in Tampa, doing it full time. Been two or 3 months now in the Joe system. I've got
Awesome.
one property we've already moved. One we had that was pretty good, but we had to cancel it, even though there was a pretty good spread just to help the seller out.
Okay,
But yeah, it's
that's
it's
awesome.
rocking, it's rolling, so it's working pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah, and yeah, and like I said, I have a chance to get to work closely with Greg. We kind of have a network within our franchisees here in Florida, so it's fun to see his progress. And he's a mover and a shaker, and he's working with the other franchisees in Tampa to help do deals and things like that. So it's pretty exciting. So Greg, tell me a little about yourself. What got you into real estate in particular?
I knew I wanted to get into some kind of business for myself. I was looking at I narrowed it down. I had like 20 or so that I was looking at, and then I narrowed it down to like three or four, and then I finally got it down to residential real estate. Um, I talked to anybody that I knew that was running a business for themselves. If I can get coffee with them, I offered to pay people to get coffee, and eventually it just narrowed down with my personality, what I love to do, and the people that I met. That real estate was really for me, the residential side of it.
That's amazing. No, I like that you kind of took that approach. Like you trying to find the industries that can provide the most opportunity and most value, and then reaching out to people that actually know the industry, know the business. And
Yeah, and
honestly,
and that's it. You mentioned value, man. It really is there, like offering value. I was thinking, like, in what industry can I offer value in terms of my past, my personality, and my strengths? And it's real. I'm really glad that I chose real estate. Like even right now, I don't know if we'll be able to jump into it, but just the approach that we have in the Geo system of providing value, like obviously to the end buyer or to the Joe system, but really to the seller, like coming in with a servant mindset, coming in and offering value and looking from every single different angle, how we can solve sellers' problem. I just like when I'm going into an appointment, I just know that I'm the best solution because I'm going to go that extra second, third, fourth, fifth mile to get the seller exactly what they need and not necessarily just price, you know. So I don't know if we'll be able to jump into that, but
no, you're
that
jumping ahead, and I love it. It's fun
yeah, yeah,
because that's honestly what I try to convey in this podcast in these conversations is that like what are we doing to separate ourselves from the competition? Because like wholesaling is extremely competitive, but you and I specifically chose to go with Joe Homebuyer for a reason. And I'll get more into that as well. But
yeah,
yeah, being a franchisee and getting the infrastructure that we have and the direction, but most importantly, I think the values and what we can do to help sellers are the two biggest things that are so important. So I appreciate you sharing that. So Greg, I think my next question is what would you say is the best quality about yourself?
about myself.
Yeah.
I'm a quick learner,
Okay.
so I think that's something definitely I got in my back pocket, and I
Awesome.
think a lot of people are. I just know for myself out of the qualities that I choose, I'd probably say quick learner because I lean pretty heavily into it. Um, and tying that into wholesaling, I think you got to constantly be changing, constantly be learning, constantly be figuring out different ways to add sellers value,
Yep.
add cash buyers value. Um, yeah, being able to transition really quickly to, like, for example, Portland is very different than Tampa. You know,
Yeah.
even the way that I go on appointments is very different. The vibe here is different. The personalities here are different. People are way more open here. I think they're way more, relational. So you kind of have to approach it a little bit differently as well. The homes here are different. So yeah, I think being able to quickly learn is a good quality to have. And not that I only have it, but I'd say that's the one I
Yeah.
value myself the most. I think it pays off in dividends. So
Well, it's cool. It's cool you mentioned that quality because yeah, everyone listening, I've had a chance to sit down with Greg on a few different occasions, and he definitely gives off that vibe. Like he's always trying to be an observer and a learner, and unlike myself who likes to talk a lot, Greg's always asking like quality questions. So I'm trying to learn from guys like you to say, okay, how can I ask a question um it's not going to be rambling or just like kind of just going to a bunch of information, but just ask a high quality question and just sit and observe. Because
but
yeah,
on that point, Devin, then this is the reason, like you asked me to kind of come on, and it's really a no-brainer because you're also a guy, I mean, even more so than I am, a guy that adds value. I think you've got a lot of experience in the game and in different markets. And I really mean it when I say I think you've got a huge store of value
I
and
appreciate that.
you don't mind sharing. I think you understand the abundance mindset really well. That and I've talked to you about this before. I
Yeah,
think you don't hold back when it comes to sharing information that you think will help the person that's sitting across from you. And I'm trying to learn that. I'm trying to figure out how can I not hold on to things maybe as closely as I might, even just out of habit. I might not be thinking, hey, I don't want to share this, but how can I think when I'm sitting across from somebody, like, what can I do to add them value, even if it's not necessarily, a seller, if it's what somebody would call like competition. I think I love your mindset on that. There really is no competition. Like everyone is moving forward in kind of the same rhythm. Everybody's trying to get the same goal. There's plenty of homes out there, and it really has changed. Guys like you and some of the guys in the Joe system, it's really changed my mentality of how I approach, quote unquote competition. I really don't see it as that anymore. I really think that everyone has different strengths, and if you can partner up with people, you can give people value. I think in the long run, it's helpful for everyone. There's plenty of opportunity out there. There's a lot of people that want to do it, but not necessarily a lot of people that will follow through.
yep.
So to find those people that are in our space that are going to be here 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, and being able to add them value, I think that's the kind of person that I want to be, and you definitely exemplify that really well.
No,
So
I really appreciate that. Yeah, this is supposed to be the part where you get all the compliments, not me. But I appreciate you sharing that. This is interesting. I work for a company. I worked for an owner for a long time, almost 4 years, and he did not have an abundance mindset. He was very
yeah,
low key for some undisclosed reasons, and now his business has suffered because of it. But then I started being around and working with Mark and Cody, and they're all about abundance. They're all about,
yeah,
hey, there's enough to go around. Because if you have the mindset that there's an infinite amount of opportunity, then why would you want to hesitate to help others, especially when, particularly in our field, they can help you. Like they can, if you share, like, I'm not saying give your time for free because your time is expensive, Greg. I know you got a family, you got people that you got to take care of, and obviously you're trying to grow your business. And same here. Like I'm probably an overshare and maybe spend too much time, but you're going to learn that how valuable your time is and how limited it is. And but if somebody's coming up and trying to like bring you a deal or ask you about real estate, about negotiation, and it's going to yield them an opportunity they're going to bring to you, it ultimately adds value to you. So that's really cool you share that. And
yeah, yeah,
so
100%.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think it comes back, and it really ties into having that mindset. It's changed even the way that I am on appointments, like little nuggets. I don't know if we'll be able to jump into any deals, but uh,
Absolutely. I definitely
coming,
will.
yeah, but coming in with that mindset to a seller, like there really is no competition. I'm coming in. I'm here to solve your problem, If somebody else can solve it better, that's great. I'm not the right fit, but I'm going to
Yep.
try to figure out if and if I'm not, I'm going to refer you over to someone that is, and having that mindset, it makes it not about price. And it really, honestly, at the end of the day, allows you to get a better price because you're
Absolutely.
solving the problem that they actually have, which most of the time is not money.
Absolutely. And that goes back to that abundance mindset. Guys, what you're going to experience, especially early on in your wholesaling journey, is that to have a chance to sit down an appointment, it's going to be few and far between, especially in the beginning. So if you go in there with desperation, saying like, this is my only lead, it's my only appointment, and the seller will see that. But what Greg just pointed out, which is extremely important to recognize, is that he's like, look, if I'm not your guy, I'm going to help connect you with the right guy. So he's going in there knowing that like, hey, I'm going to get a contract on this, but if I can't provide value for them, for what they need, I'm going to put them in the right direction, whether it's a realtor or whether it's whatever, yeah, whether it's somebody that can help them sell it privately, whatever it may be. You're going in with that mindset, and I'm telling you, like, people smell desperation. It's funny. I listened to a podcast recently with Matthew McConaughey. Um, he's actually been really cool in the self-development space to listen to, and he talked about one of the biggest movie roles he got. He was like so nervous and so amped up, and he talked to his agent. His agent's like, hey, how do I go approach this? He's like, just be yourself. He's like, if you try to be anybody else other than yourself, then you won't get the job. And so
Yeah.
he went in there and he played it cool. He was him. And so what you need to realize is that you need to be yourself, in this industry, whatever industry you're in, because if you're not, people see through it pretty quickly. And especially when you're dealing with sellers and wholesaling real estate, like, they're already vulnerable. And so they're already they can be skeptical. And so if you're not being authentic, then your chances of succeeding and just focusing like, hey, I'm going to just give them as much money as I can and then get out there and try to sell it is not going to serve you long term. So I'm really glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, yeah. And Darren, let me know if you agree with this or not. But I think there's different, like, you do have to be authentic and lean into your personality when it comes from like the acquisition side or even
Yep.
dispo. So I mean, for somebody, it might be a little bit more straightforward, and somebody else it might be a little, less straightforward, a little more relational. But at the end of the day, it is just about providing value, because there's guys that are more drivers and A personalities, and they still get the contracts. Well,
Yep.
those are the people that want to work with that type of person. There's other people that they're looking for more relational and nurturing, and they need a lot more time. And then your personality, if that's your natural personality, you're going to get those. So it's not about being somebody else. Of course, there's certain techniques and strategies that we can do to maybe get some of those deals that don't necessarily fit, our personality. But really just, yeah, being yourself, being authentic, focusing on the other person that's sitting, beside you. I think that's the thing that was the game changer.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think to add to that, like, for me personally, I'm not your typical negotiator. I'm a collaborator. So I work
Yep.
really well with teams. So when it comes to negotiating, I have a really hard time committing or trying to commit people because I want to be their friend, and I want to make them feel comfortable.
There's
So that's why, yeah, that's why drivers do so good. That's why, like, people that are mavericks, people that are like type A personalities, like for people that want to kind of understand the personality assessment side of things that we'll discuss in another video. But it's just like, those people get the job done. Like, and sometimes they don't feel comfortable doing it, but you are dealing with sellers a lot of times where they don't make decisions, and that's why they're a motivated seller in the first place. So if they learn the tactics, my acquisition manager, he's a driver. Like, he's a maverick. Like, he's taking action, but he's very good at making sure the sellers feel comfortable. So when it's time to negotiate and time to get down to the brass tacks, that he's not pulling punches. And it's worked really well for him. And I see it's worked well for other people too. So I don't know
so
what your personality type is,
Devin,
but
so on that, I think I've got a little nugget. Maybe I could share it
yeah,
later, up to you when we share it. But my personality is driver, but
yep,
on when I'm taking any type of assessment, my relationship is higher than me trying to get my own way. So like
yeah,
for me, even though I still put the relationship first, and I had to put in this little nugget into this little hack into the way that I approach appointments, so that by the time I get to the end where I am kind of negotiating or collaborating and trying to get to a price and get it closed, I've already set the stage that it's an understanding that we're going to have that conversation.
yeah,
So I put these
absolutely.
little Easter eggs throughout the conversation before on the phone and at the appointment, so that once we get towards the end, it's already an understood that we're going to have that conversation. And that way I don't have to like get uncomfortable. Cause I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to be listening to this that aren't that driver personality. And you're going
Yes.
to do really well at connecting with people, but getting it over the finish line, there's just a little strategy I can share later or whenever to help people
No,
out.
absolutely. Well, that's yeah. And maybe it goes to my next question. So, what is the key in your view on being successful in wholesaling real estate? You think?
Well, let me kind of give this little nugget so that adding a little value, and then we'll
Perfect.
jump
Yeah.
into the second part of the question. Yeah, I think so. If you are somebody that values relationships more, it really is about setting the stage and telling people, as you're heading over, before you're heading over, or you're there on the appointment throughout after like 20 minutes, every like 20, 30 minutes, this is how I typically do it, is I say, hey, if we're able to, put a contract together, or if we're able to put together a number today that makes sense for you, would you be ready to move forward and put a contract together today?
Great
You know,
question. Can you repeat that, please? Or
yeah, yeah,
if you don't, rewind this. But yeah, we repeat that question because that's my favorite question in
yeah.
this whole scenario when you're negotiating.
Exactly. Yeah. Is if we're able to come together on price and get you everything you need today, would you be willing to move forward and sign a contract?
Oh,
And you could phrase it many different ways, but
yeah.
I really like if you value relationships more, which a lot of us are relationship people, is I would say it on the phone call when you're talking to them before you head over. If you're shooting them a text, you can put it in there as you meet them at the front door. Literally, the first things out of my mouth is that phrase, but I do it in a very light and relational way,
Yeah.
and I sprinkle it throughout the appointment.
That's so
And
good.
by the time we get to a point where we need to talk about it, it's already a natural progression of the relationship, and it's really not difficult. It's almost a natural next step to get to the close. But having to do with being successful, like overall, like if we're zooming out to the more 10,000 foot level, I think it really is knowing what to focus on and taking action.
Yeah.
What are the things that are important in whole? It could be, I got buddies that are in different types of, businesses, and theirs are going to be different, like the activities that are important. But what they do is they do those activities and they do them every single day, you know? So like it really is simple. There's a few things that you need to be doing every day, or somebody needs to be doing every single day who's in your business. And as long as you're doing those things, like you will be successful. I was talking to Mark and Cody, and I just, like, for example, I jump into the Tampa market and I have no worry, no matter how much I'm spending or putting time, I have no worry that I'm going to be doing deals because I just know that it works. If you know what activities to do, there's just no way it doesn't work. 2 + 2 always equals 4. You know, as long
Yeah.
as you're doing the activities, you will be successful. It might not be the success that you think, and it might take a little bit longer than you think because it is hard. I think the whole thing of wholesaling is super easy. Real estate is easy. I think that's complete BS. I think it is hard. I think that learning curve is difficult. I think you do have to put a lot of time into it, but it works as long as
Yeah.
you're willing to, and not just mindless activities, not just hanging around on YouTube and twiddling your thumbs, but actually going out there and doing those daily activities. There's no way that you will not be successful. I think people kind of get hung up as well on, or not hung up, but kind of hit roadblocks because they're a little bit more relational,
Yep.
and strategies like the one I'm talking about, that helps you get over that hurdle. So there's really no excuse to dominate, I,
No, absolutely.
you know,
No, I think that's extremely key information. Look, like the concept of most businesses or things that are important to you, the concepts are pretty simple. Like if like you could say the same thing about losing weight. It's like, well, the best way to lose
exactly.
weight is burn more calories than you consume. It's like, okay, well, the best way to do wholesaling real estate is send out 10,000 postcards a week or it's the same concept. It's like, yeah, in theory it is easy, but like in our business, and I talk about this a lot, like 2/3 of the deals that I do in my business are from follow-ups. And that could mean a week, it could mean a year. I've done deals where it took over a year and through consistent follow-up to actually getting a contract with that seller. And I've done that many, many times. Like I said, if I focus on like what can I do to get a deal now, and that's all I focused on, I'm gonna you're gonna run out of money. You're gonna lose your business. Like if wholesaling
Absolutely.
real estate is what you're doing full time, if you're not doing follow ups, you're gonna fail. So
Absolutely.
that's so key. So I'm glad you pointed that
I would,
out.
yeah, and I'd say take the word follow up, and it's so generic, and I think it's used so much that we
Yeah.
kind of have blinders to it, and replace that with add value.
Oh, that's I'm gonna steal that. Jeez.
So whoever you're calling, just think, how can I add value? How can I add value? You can add value every week to somebody. Just keep them in the pipeline. You're not a nuisance. You're not a mosquito. Just asking somebody, hey, please give me some money. Like you're there trying to figure out, and that's what I was talking about when I opened the call. Is it really the differentiating factor is if you're the person that's actively proactively adding value, you actually get better at doing it as time goes on, because you start figuring out those little things that people value in these transactions that not everyone else is thinking about. It's like if you're looking for, to buy a new, I know people will say this all the time, let's say a new Toyota Tundra, you're going to be seeing it all over the place after a while. The same thing, if you're looking to add value, you're going to start seeing these little nuggets of value that you can add to buyers. And a lot of time they're pretty repetitive across different sellers,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
getting
absolutely.
you start getting more natural. You start getting into more of a rhythm when you're with sellers, and you start finding out what are the right questions to ask for the things that they really value. And here's a perfect example. The deal so I just jumped in the Tampa market, but right now we're doing a deal. It's a pretty big spread. Already have the end buyer for it. It was just one really important thing for him was he
Hey,
had a car.
before you go, that was my last question. So I'm really
Okay,
glad
okay.
you jumped. I love it. So I said, let's do a deal breakdown. So I want to know what marketing source you got it from, and how much you're going to make on the assignment, or if it's a flip. So I'll let you get. That's a perfect segue to our last question. Saying, yeah, let's do a deal breakdown. So yeah, so just tell me what the marketing source was, and then yeah, obviously after you share your experience, you can share how much you're going to make on the deal.
All right, so I'll sandwich the experience in between those two. Yeah. So it was a cold calling lead.
Cold calling lead. Okay, great.
Yeah, I got the call. I went out on the appointment, and from start to finish, the appointment was 5 hours long.
Dang.
Right?
Wow.
And listen to this. The price that he said, uh, uh can you hear me? The
Yeah, I
price,
got you.
yeah, the price that he said he wanted was 250,000. It
Okay.
was way over what I needed it at.
Okay.
It was way over.
So why
When
did
I
you go
got
on the deal then?
right, you can hear, like I was saying, you can kind of hear that he is motivated. Like you can
Yeah.
kind of hear in the tone. And honestly, for me, even if somebody gives a higher price, I'm still going to go on the appointment. First of all, it's good practice. Second of all, I could find a way to add them value. And like we were talking about, they may be at this number today, but as you continue adding value, with follow up 3 to 6, 9, 12 months down the line, you're the guy that they're going to call.
Did you hear that,
You know,
guys? It's not all about price. If you think it's all about price, you're going to miss out on so much opportunity and so much potential revenue. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there because
that's key, and keep that in the back of your mind as we're walking through the deal. But I was literally there for 5 hours. So I get there, we kind of start talking here and there. I'm just asking about where he's going. I'm telling him a little bit about myself, and then I just moved to Tampa. Over the course of that conversation, he said that there was a few things that were really important to him. First of all, he had a car that he wanted to get over to Sacramento, and he got quoted like 7.5 grand. Yeah. That's an astronomical price for
that's
for
crazy.
anyone. I had just shipped a car over to Tampa, and I had negotiated the price down to, like, I think I paid 1,100. And
Wow.
I told him, I said, my guy who's here, I said, I guarantee you, I said, we do the deal or not. I said, I guarantee you, I can get you it for $1,500.
So you're telling me you were going to serve him even if you weren't going to be even if you weren't going to be his buyer?
And that's exactly it. And I know
Wow.
throughout all that time, he knew that I was there just to help. And I really was. Like, I was like, he said such an astronomical number. I really didn't even know if it was going to be a deal. But I just
Okay.
went there, and I'm thinking, okay, what are those points that he needs that's going to add value? So that's point number one. He got so comfortable with the conversation. I've got a Jeep with a winch in the front. He was like, hey, I got that trailer back there, and I need to replace the tires. And he was like, I was looking at your winch. Maybe we could plug it in to the trailer and winch it out. Is kind of in the weeds. I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. And the reason he even felt comfortable to mention that was because throughout the conversation, you could tell that I was giving, 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 giving. And it wasn't all about Greg, 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 Greg.
That's
And so
cool.
throughout the conversation, so imagine this. He's at 250,000. Yeah. I know I need to get a way, way, way less. The increments that we got throughout that. And by the way, we talked about stocks. We talked about his portfolio, what I had. We talked about crypto. I had kind of messed around with it. We had this we talked about stocks for like a good hour. And it wasn't like I was talking about stocks or crypto because I was necessarily just trying to get a deal. Like I actually am interested in that stuff. And he could
Yeah.
tell I was genuine and he was really interested. So I was writing down notes. I was giving him notes,
Oh,
having
awesome.
this back and forth. Um, Throughout the conversation, we started at 250,000. We got it to 220. We got it to 200, and 200 was like I really don't want to go lower than 200. We got it to 180. We got it
Oof.
to 150, and we signed it at 135.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And I'm telling you, if the appointment was an hour long, I would have been stuck at that 220. It's just
Yeah.
we needed that time to figure out what are those pain points and what does he actually value and what does he need. And I solved there was a few other things. I'd have to go through my notes, but constantly just adding value. He knew, like for example, if he needs to move something, he knows that he can just call me. You know, like
Yep.
I'm a phone call away. If I'm dropping by, I'm like, hey, I'm dropping by Starbucks. Do you want anything? Like we already have that relationship just because of the time spent where for him, it really wasn't about price at the end of the day. You know, as I kept adding more value, he realized, that those things were important. Right now, he can listen, he's going to Sacramento and he knows that he doesn't have to worry about anything.
That's
I
crazy.
took care of his trailer. I took care of his car issue. It's already picked up. It's already on its way to Sacramento. I took care of any moving that he has to do. I can come. I can help him move stuff. He needs to sort through things. I'm there. Everything that he needs, and this is like an unspoken understanding between us, that anything that he needs from A to Z, from signing contract to closing, Greg's going to be there, and I'm going to help him out. And so he knows he's got this piece, and he just verbally says this, that he knows, I know that I don't have to worry about anything, and I'm already good as gone. Like I'm in Sacramento, everything is taken care of. There's nothing that's gonna pop up. And when I got the assignment, figured out, I even leaned in heavier that hey, everything is figured out. You don't have to worry about anything. We're closing on the house on the date that you want. And I knew that the day of closing, he was pretty flexible. So I talked to my end buyer and I said, hey, he's pretty flexible. He might need a little more time, a little less time. I need you to confirm that that's one of the things that I needed was that you're flexible in it. So I'm able to go back to him and be like, hey, we're closing on the 20th, but if you need a few more days, you need a week, you need to close a little earlier, like you just let me know. Just give me a little bit of a heads up. But yeah, 250,000, got it down at 135, and we assigned it at 170. So
Wow. That's amazing. So yeah, look, guys, like that's a perfect example. Like people are willing to sacrifice price for convenience. And look, if that guy was stuck on 250, but he still needs help, like Greg was in a position that he knew how to help and serve him. Because I can guarantee you, he's had other appointments and other deals where it didn't work out. The numbers didn't make sense, but he was able to put them in the right direction. And I promise you, if you take that same approach as Greg, then you will be successful in wholesaling real estate. So okay, so it's a cold calling lead, and you wanted basically market value. Sounds like you're close to it for what
it was
the
above.
property. Yeah, for
Yeah,
what the prop. Yeah, that's crazy. So basically,
it's
the guy
above.
wanted more for what it would go for, completely remodeled, right? And he was able to get him at a discount from 250 to 135, and he was able to make $35,000. Guys, just listen. If you have this, if you need one podcast to just revisit on the importance of providing value, listen to this one, like with Greg. Like that's an incredible example, and I appreciate you sharing that story. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I really think I think this is just me, but I really think the secret sauce is just adding value. Because
yeah,
you were talking about like not being desperate. Like when you're in there and you're constantly looking at how to help them, they don't feel that need to close up and withhold information and hey, I'll get back to you. Like there's an understanding that I'm here to help. And honestly, I'll sprinkle throughout the conversation that, I'm an investor, so I need I do need to be able to make a profit. And they're completely fine with it. They understand.
yeah,
They could, if they really wanted to get the most that they wanted, and they didn't have some problems that they needed solved, they would list it with the realtor. Like they understand that you need to make money. They just want you to solve their problem, and you just need to figure out what that problem is. And a lot of times, I don't think it's just one problem. I think it's a lot of little things that stack up where they get to a point, and I've had this happen on multiple deals where they just feel completely at ease that everything is going to be taken care of. And whenever they talk to Greg, this is the guy that solved all of their problems. And when they talk to me, they know that if they have something else, I will help them solve it. Here's a, yeah, I was going to jump into another deal, but yeah, that's
No, yeah, we're running out of time, but man, this is so great. We'll definitely have you on again because everything that you provided is so valuable. So where, and I'll throw a link in the YouTube description, but where can people find you to check, to reach out to you if they have a deal or if they have an
I think,
for you?
yeah, Instagram, Greg Polyakov at GregPolyakov. And listen, yeah, if you've got a deal, if obviously Devin's right, time is important, but I want to add value. So like,
Yeah.
there's for sure going to be little things that if you reach out to me, I will be more than happy to kind of guide you and help you out. If there's a way that we can partner, let's do it. You know, I definitely have a lot of value to add in that regard as well. But I really feel like these nuggets, and these are just like obviously a few out of a large handful. I don't mind sharing them because I want other people to success, especially it's like a hungry person that wants to be successful, that wants to knock it out of the park. There's little tweaks that you can make that will give you disproportionate amount of results in relation to the amount of time you put in. You know, so yeah, reach out. I'll help you out 100%.
Great. And then just to add on that, like if Greg's want to provide value for you and give you the service and opportunity, make sure you do that. Make sure you return the favor, provide value. Even if you don't know anything, like I said, this podcast and YouTube is going to provide you a lot of content, and a lot of material that will help you. So just apply it and you will be successful in wholesaling real estate. Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate it, man. That's fun.
Yeah, for sure, brother. Thanks for having me on.
I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.